Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's edition of Organic Matters, the podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. I'm with Padraic O'Donnell here in lovely County Galway, and I'm looking at something that we don't usually look at on organic beef farms. I'm looking at, is it bird cover pork?
Yeah,
is that what I'm looking
Winter bird food is called, yeah.
So tell me a little bit about the field in front of us, because you do have a beef enterprise, you're direct selling beef as well. We'll talk about that a bit later. But first of all, this field, what's going on in this field?
Yeah, so when I first went into the organics, I was thinking about doing cereals and a bit of tillage and other things like that. And it just so coincided that the acre scheme was open, and one of the initiatives within it was winter bird food. So that was kind of the closest way I thought I'd get a free go at tillage. So the field that you see here in front of you is a mix of mustard seeds, which is the yellow plants. Then you have the purple one, which is the phacelia, and you'll see an odd few spring oats poking up through it.
I see tons of bees in front of us.
Yeah.
And what's important about that is that they aren't just the beehive bees, the honey bees. They're the singular bees, and they're the ones who are really under threat in terms of habitats and food to live on. So it's clearly working what you're doing.
Yeah, well, especially at the start of the year, say the mustard seeds come up really well. Them are the yellow ones there. There's not many of them left. And they're kind of a cover crop really, and they are great because they stop any other weeds coming up through it. Follow that, then you see the phacelia, that's the purple plant, and you do see the bees working really hard with that. And I wasn't that aware, but my wife is into gardening, so she told me bees love purple. So phacelia is a lovely purple plant.
And I think it helps to naturally fix the soil, phacelia as well. It's very good for soil nutrition.
Yeah, well, it is a nitrogen fixer. I think a lot of people would sow it alongside potatoes sometimes, I think.
So how are you feeling about tillage?
Well, I don't think it's going to be for me, to be honest. But what it does give me as well, because once the 1st of March comes out, you can turn cattle out onto this. Okay. Because of the type of land I have, I can kind of keep my cattle out most of the time until maybe the week or so before Christmas. Now I have a couple of rocky bits, and I supplementally feed them hay or haylage. It's wrapped hay this year because it just went a bit far on me, but that's fine. But I can get them in here on the 1st of March, and believe it or not, there will be a foot of grass here.
Really?
Yeah, because all of the stems and all of the seeds and everything that you see will be completely devoured by birds. Wow. Completely gone. Yeah.
So but because you've been in organic since 2021, you're a relatively new entrant. But there is this thing, I guess, called a double funding rule, where, if you're in organics, the organic land won't get paid at the same time as land under acres initiatives as well. Did that put you off at all?
It was a consideration, but because the payment on this is quite good, it's €1,000 a hectare, and there's about 2 hectares in here. So I get 2,000 of a payment, and it was like a free go at tillage, and it is useful for me at the early spring. So normally I have them in here from the 1st of March until it's ready for tilling, really. And this year it was a bit earlier than last year, but when the spring was so bad last year, I kept them here till nearly the 2nd week in March.
Organic seed, is that hard to get?
No, I didn't have no issue sourcing it. Fruit Hill Farm, I emailed Elmer the first year I was in it, and he was able to send me.
That's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
And how much you talked about, I think 2 hectares here, and in total how big an area is the farm, and what kind of land is it?
So it's a relatively small farm. It's about 25 hectares, so in old money that's about 65 acres.
And that's under the average, because the average in Ireland is about 80 acres.
Okay, yeah. So it's a bit smaller than normal. What I do have here is, in my opinion, I have a nice mix. So this would be typical grassland, meadows across the way there, which you've seen, Hannah. They're typical grassland, but then I have callows, which are great for summer, or if there's drought. I know we don't get it, but it's still useful to have. And then I have a few rockier areas as well, which are suitable at the front end of the year or the back end of the year if you're trying to extend your grazing.
That is a nice mix.
Yeah.
And then in terms of cattle, what breed of cattle do you have?
My cows would be still from the conventional time, so I'd still have that type of cow. So I'd have a suckler cow, I'd have Limousine kind of Simmental cross. but say the last couple of years I have experimented with more traditional breeds. You'll see that when we go across the way, and I don't run a bull here. I do all artificial insemination. I actually did the course myself because I work off farm, and it was just the logistics.
I was about to say, yeah, because working off farm, it's hard to catch them. I even find it being around the farm and looking out for them. It's hard to get when they're in heat. Because for anyone listening who doesn't realise, cows are only have an estrus period for what is it? God, a day? Is it 24 hours or something? You've done the course, you'll know.
Well, you once you see them in standing heat, you'll be aiming to inseminate them. Then you can do them from when they're in standing heat, but kind of 12 to 24 hours after standing heat is optimum, because that's when the egg becomes available for fertilisation.
And do you have your own cask then for AI straws and everything?
Yeah. So I sold my stock bull in 22, and I didn't have enough work for him here. Prior to conversion, I would have had a good few more cows, so he would have been busier, but he was getting a bit cross, and the logistics of having a bull and keeping your own replacements is tricky. So I kind of wanted to run everything together, so it was another kind of, I know it's labour intensive in terms of watching them for heat and AIing them, but it kind of offset a bit of that labour in my own mind anyway. And for what I sold the bull for, I nearly did the course. It was partially funded by somebody, I can't remember, Macro Farmer maybe. And between the cost of the course and the cost of the tank and the straws and there's a little holding container as well, it was nearly evens.
Wow, that's amazing. And how's your technical skills at artificial insemination? Because people say there is some skill to it. Yeah, well, I had a challenging year last year. I had a good few repeats, but I'm getting there. There's no point in lying. I'm getting there. Yeah. That's good. And do you use, because obviously in organics you can't use an injection that brings them all in heat. A lot of conventional farmers do that. I heard actually locally someone had done it with 300 of their dairy cows back home, and I was thinking, oh wow, 300. It's a very busy spring. But in organics you can't do that, so you have to wait for their natural heat or their natural cycle. Do you use do you use tail paint? Do you use scratch cards? What do you find is the best thing?
I've used all of them, but to be honest, what I have is I have a couple of bullocks, and normally one of them will be smelling them around them and trying to do is jump on them somehow.
They're a great indicator. I have that. I've put a bullock with a cow that I was finding it hard to get, and they can't kind of beat
I have used the tail paint. The tail paint does stay on, but it kind of cakes and you're not sure if it comes off. And I've used the pads as well, but the pads come off because I have hedges and I have other things around. I think if you're out on a dairy plain and they're not given the opportunity to scratch against something, maybe they work better, but I haven't found them great for me.
And pork, I've had a few people who are nearly new entrants to farming, but your family has been here for a while, haven't they?
Yeah, well, I'd be the third generation on this particular farm, but my grandfather would have been from about 5 miles up the road, Derrybrine. So after a brief sabbatical down in Woodlawn, I think at that time the Land Commission were kind of giving out farms after the formation of the Republic, so he took an opportunity down there on a 40-acre farm, but he always kept tabs on stuff that was happening here. So after a visit up here with his lovely wife Kitty Burke from Bolon, they seen this farm and they wanted to move up here. They wanted to move here because it was close to the church, the school, and at that time there was a local shop as well up in McCarthy's Bar, where it is now. It even has a post box, and we're within 2 miles of Gort, so that's why they came back here.
It's a lovely sense of community and family though, isn't it?
Yeah, and my mother as well, she would be from a farming background. She was from just outside Spittle there, Invern, so that would be Gaeltacht area. She would have grown up on farms, so a lot of emphasis was on the farm when I was growing up. Yeah.
And you come back to it because you were working in the UK for a long time.
Yeah, went over there in 06 to finish my civil engineering degree. But I used to come back quite a bit. I used to come back, I would come back probably once a month initially, and then even when I had my own family, we used to come back at Easter and maybe a week during the summer as well. But I moved back in 2018, just prior to COVID, thank God, and haven't looked back since.
Lovely. And we've been talking a lot about the cows, so we might go and have a look at them now. Pork, we've just stepped into the field with your sucklers. They're that lovely kind of deep caramel brown. Although I know you were talking about Limousine and Charolais, weren't you? But is there a bit of Aubrac in one of them? And I'm starting to see there's a few other different colours, like you said, maybe some more. Is there a bit of Angus maybe in some of the calves? But anyway, well, tell me what I'm looking at anyway.
Yeah, well, that one was an Aubrac. It was a heifer, so I just gave him a go. They were kind of an easy calving sire at the time, so I just gave him a go. He's a year old now, so he's
shaping up nicely, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a year since February, so he's doing well. Yeah.
Because a good few organic farmers are thinking of Aubrac because they want to stick to kind of continentals over kind of more Angus or Hereford. So with you would you give them a vote?
And they have the myostatin gene as well, the muscle gene. So if you're into that, they'd carry that rather than the other alternatives, the Angus or the more traditional breeds wouldn't have that. But they're nice cattle, and he's not as kind of muscly, or he's not as kind of lengthy as the Limousine either, so he'll probably finish a bit better, easier, for the people trying to finish off grass or clover.
And you were saying as well that in terms of the AI, part of the idea was that you'd run the whole herd together. So do you just run them in one block, and do you move them regularly, or how often? What do you have, like a strategy? Some people could vary into the grassland management and the rotation.
Well, I don't have anything written down, but I kind of have a strategy in that in May I'd move them quite a bit. So when things are growing quite heavily, I'd move them every couple of days. The back end of the year, then say about now, I'm actually starting to look to build up my covers already. So I'd be more looking to use my callows now for the next probably next 6-7 weeks, and starting to build up my covers then towards October, November, and obviously all the silage ground I have become available as well. So that's kind of the general strategy.
And then I see some black calves in front of me as well. So was that Angus, or it's a bit spotty, so I'm wondering, it might not be Angus. What is it?
So that guy is actually a Belgian Blue.
Okay.
Yeah but I do have Angus calves here. Basically what my idea was that I'd have some for forward store and weighing and selling, and then I'd have the Angus calves to finish for myself for my boxes. Obviously Angus are kind of world renowned for quality of meat and ease of finishing. So
well, I have my first Angus bullock at home, and he's coming up to about a year old, just over a year old. Lovely shape of an animal. I'm actually very surprised, because we would be very biased, bigoted Hereford breeders at home, but actually Granny better not be listening to this, but they are lovely. They do shape up really nice.
A lot of people don't maybe think about the type of cow that you have either, so unfortunately a lot of the Angus that you'd see might be dairy cross or something like that, but when you cross them with a nice continental type cow, or a good, maybe not continental but a good traditional cow, you will get a good calf.
And some people are kind of favouring polled breeds without horns as well. Or is that kind of an idea in your head?
I have Limousine polled bulls in my tank. And it's not just good for them, it's good for me too, because it's another job that you don't have to do. And a calf, I hate doing it, because normally they're just starting to take off, they're just suckling the mother, and then you have to put them kind of through this little bit of trauma. And as well, for me, I started to calve a bit later in the year, so often maybe flies might be a bit of an issue. It's just it's another welfare thing for them and for me. That's my opinion on it.
We'll move on to direct selling in a second, but in terms of finishing, do you finish them for the organic factory yourself?
So the ones that I use for the beef boxes, they'd all be finished here. I have some red clover, so the growing cattle and the ones that I know I'm finishing, they'll be getting that throughout the winter, but normally they are out for a month or two before they'll be sent over to my local abattoir here.
Do you give them any meal or anything like that?
No, I made up the amount of meal that I used last year was 460 odd kilos.
Wow, that's incredible.
Yeah. And I just buy my local farmers merchants here, Gillan's, which is 2 miles down the road. They always have it in stock, so I normally just bring 2 or 3 bags at a time.
Yeah. And would you use it for weaning, or what would you use it for? Yeah,
weaning, and say pre and post weaning, and mostly for docile management. So when you shake a bucket,
what made you want to do the boxes?
Well, when I was growing up here, I have a local abattoir 2 miles away. And when I was growing up here, we often used to have a heifer here on the farm because I have 4 siblings, and my mum and dad and maybe my uncle or my grandparents used to get a bit as well. So I was used to having our own beef here on the farm, so I knew the quality of it. And when I went into organic, people were asking, what are you going to do? And they were genuinely interested in getting some of the meat. And during the organic, the training, we had Clive Bright from Ballymote, and he was saying he was doing it and kind of planted the seed, and I just did it a couple of years ago with a couple of animals, and I've just kept doing it, really. Yeah. And
do you have a good customer base? Is it the regulars, or are you getting new people, or how's it working?
Both, thank God. Both. So I have people that come back, and you nearly know when they're going to run out, and you'd have the text on the phone, put me on the next round. And then I did a bit through social media, and there was a market in Gort there on the run up to Christmas, and I got a couple of customers for that. So I have one more animal to do this year in September, so he's already reserved, so hopefully next year will be okay again. Get people coming back again to me.
And even with, I guess, organic beef prices have been so high, all beef prices have been so high this year. I know myself with the farm shop at home, I kind of do the math, and I am still making a bit more than I would make from the factory, but because you have to look at your numbers at the same time, don't you?
Yeah, and it is, you're just about covered. Like for me, I'm just about covered for the day that I take off work, because I work off farm as well. I'm just about covered for the day I take off work to deliver them. For me, another reason I was doing it is obviously there's not many people that have the opportunity to have their abattoir 2 miles away. So you have the animal here, goes 2 miles away. Like, you couldn't get any.
No, I'm so jealous. I have to drive an hour to get my beef killed and an hour and a half to get my pigs killed. Like, you've no idea how lucky you are.
Yeah, and to be honest, there aren't. And talking to the local abattoir, Flannery's his name. I hope he doesn't mind me naming him, but there aren't many people going to him for their own use. So if you don't use something like that, we're probably going to lose it and be only able to get our produce through going to farm shops or going further afield than what we might need to.
Did he mind? Because I imagine he might not be organic certified, so you might have to get a subcontract license and all of that. Did he mind any of that?
No, I think he had been through it before. He had a customer years ago that used to do it, so he actually knew the person that did the audit. So he was like, I can't imagine it's any more onerous than a Board B inspection or anything than that. All they're trying to prove is traceability. I wasn't there, so.
Well, Padraic, we're coming to the end of the podcast now. Is there anything you'd like to add? Anything you've learnt along the way of your farming journey or your organic farming journey that you think maybe farmers should be aware of?
Not so much. Obviously, everybody's learning all along the way, but I would just say to people, if they are thinking about it, to what I found the most useful was I went on some farm walks. So if you are thinking about converting, or if you're just generally interested, look up Teagasc or IOA and see where they're doing the farm works and which ones will be most in tandem with your own farm, and go from there, really.
And sometimes it's good to go and see, because even if you might see something you like, but you might see something you don't like, and that's just as valuable, actually, to think, I'm not going to do it that way, I'm going to do it another way.
Well, the main challenge that I have is the bedding throughout the winter. So fortunately I don't have any hassle sourcing straw, but it is a bit of an extra chore on top of keeping them fed, keeping them bedded versus to slats. That's the main change that I had to do here, So
Well, Padraic, thank you very much. For anyone who might be interested in a beef box, could they go online and find you, or how would they have any way of contacting you?
Well, I'm on social media, so I'm on Instagram as Deep Meadow Organic and Facebook as well, Deep Meadow Organic. So search on there and give me a message if you're interested.
Do. Thank you very much for that. For everyone listening, you've been listening to Organic Matters, the podcast brought to you by the Irish Organic Association. And for more on organics, you can go to www.irishorganicassociation.ie. But for me, Hannah Quinn Mulligan, thank you very much, and we'll be back again in another 2 weeks with another podcast.